this all set to go, Kevin?
Yes.
Okay.
And not hit erase. Okay.
Okay, I'll call the meeting of the Green Bay Economic Development Authority to order. Roll call, Sikich is here, Mr. Becker is excused, Mr. Borley. Here. Mr. Alderman Duane. Here. Eric. Here. Phil Hilgenberg. Here. And Mr. Vogel is excused. Has everyone had a chance to read the agenda? Is there a motion to approve the agenda? Motion to approve. Approved by Alderman Duane. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jenrich. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the August 12th, 2015 meeting.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Borley, second by Hilgenberg. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Carried. Items for action. Item 4, request by Alderman Moore for a report on how Class 1 rating for the Green Bay Metro Fire Department can affect economic development and how the city will use this information in recruiting and retention efforts. The staff recommendation is to receive and place this on file. Kevin, I see you do have your report.
Yeah, so this comes from a request from Alderman Moore, council meeting. We looked into this. We actually had one of our interns this summer go and call some of these municipalities, talk to some of the insurance companies, and find out, okay, well, what does this mean, getting this Class 1 rating? In short, it's a good thing. It's not going to be anything dramatic or huge. We're already at a Class 2, so we're up at the upper echelon of those. But moving to Class 1 just put us in some elite company. With that, the timing for having this impact, depends on when people, renew their insurance premiums. For some companies, they look at ISO. Some insurance companies don't look at ISO. So there's a mix, depending on what carrier you have. Nonetheless, there could be some advantages for some of our businesses. And so, some of the things that we're going to do in rolling this out, just making sure that this is a part of our retention visits, especially with some of our larger industrial customers, just friendly heads up or a follow-up, about when they renew their policies, forwarding it on to the bids, who can also, they've got, their outreach to some of these smaller businesses, adding to the website as we restructure that, marketing literature, and our Green Bay Business Guide has some financing things in it, but we're also going to be working this fall, adding some, how to navigate City Hall types of things, and just other resources that we can put in there. So, by putting it in there and just making sure that there's some awareness of it, we feel that's kind of the best approach moving forward. So, no dramatic action at this point, just making sure that we're integrating this kind of our daily practices, and with that, just recommending that the receive and place on file, and we'll move forward.
Do you want a
Motion to approve. Staff recommendation and receive on file.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jenrich. Any further discussion?
My only comment is, Kevin, I'll find out because my renewals are coming up, so I'm going to ask her for my business. So we'll see. I mean, that's really where
Right.
the brick's going to hit the pavement, right, or whatever. So.
And we'll be interested definitely to see what the impact is here in the city. Again, it depends on the company and it depends what it is. But hey, even if it's a few bucks, is a few bucks if it works out.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Carried.
Okay.
Item 5, Economic Development Department Strategy for Autumn 2015. Staff recommendation, receive and place on file. Kevin's also provided us with a little report here.
So
Matrix.
this looks a little bit like what I did at the beginning of the summer. And it's boiled down a little more from what it was to make it a little simpler. But also with Julia coming on board, she's given us some really good feedback in terms of how do we measure our progress, and really starting to put in some measurable things that we're doing, both in terms of the outputs and the outcomes. So I want to talk a little bit first, kind of about what we did this past summer. I'll just pull up actually. In terms of, where we were at last summer and some of the things that we were doing during that time, I just want to, kind of outlay some of the accomplishments and where to put my. In terms of, doing, sorry, I'm gonna go back to what we have here in front of us. One of the major things that we changed is in terms of just promotion. Promotion kind of goes in everything we do in networking and the projects. So we kind of changed that last category to, leading the community transformation. And really what that's about, it's kind of the big picture things that are gonna outlast us here on staff, outlast, the boards and councils, things that really, kind of are bigger picture, longer term thinking. They're maybe not the day-to-day, projects where you see shovels in the ground, but we feel they're important in terms of, plans, policies, things that kind of set the general direction for the city. So with that, we restructured a little bit in terms of our department planning. Kind of the opportunity, the vision is still the same. Our strategic actions, pretty much still the same in terms of focusing on that network, managing the projects, the things that we do in terms of services that our department itself, the city offers, and then again, changing that promotion into more of kind of transformation. With that, the focus areas again stay pretty much the same. Moving into, how do we measure what we're doing to show you, to show the council, to show the community, what our office specifically is doing, and measuring that in outputs, and just going back to some things, a balance of numbers and actual, contacts or visits or projects, but also working on, some qualitative information as well, good stories to tell. We've talked about that we need to be putting together in our department an annual report. After 2015, start working on January, and probably by February next year, kind of go back and say, here's the year before, and here's some things that we did. With that, some of the things that we'd also like to measure is just outcomes. Those that we may not be able to say, okay, well, we directly did that, but by doing our job here, hopefully we'll see these things in the community. And that's, increase in jobs, increase in investment, increase in property values, increase in educational attainment of our residents, increase household income, things that we should just kind of also put into context. And just as we get through this after a few years, do we see, are we seeing the trends move in the right direction? So with that, I think hopefully tweaking this puts us, one, it kind of simplifies kind of the huge matrix we had before, and for us to be able to tell somebody specifically, this is what we do, and then in a way be able to measure it, to go back at the end of every quarter and at the end of the year and say, okay, well, this is really what we're measuring. And I think that maybe was missing from kind of a prior draft of this. When I brought it out, I said this is going to be a work in progress. But this is, I think, where we feel where we can be going in the future. And I guess I wanted to get your feedback a little bit. Are there some things that we've done before, or things you'd like to see also in terms of measuring some of these outputs or outcomes that you feel are important for us to be keeping track of in the future?
I think this is really good. I think in the past, we've always looked at, land sales in I-43, number of businesses coming in, number of additional employment, things like that. And pretty much that's on here. The one that jumped out at me is, population by educational attainment. What programs, what are you going, what are we doing to, to address that?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things, we say that, going back to the vision, I mean, we want smart people, skilled people,
Right.
Entrepreneurial people in our community. That I think is more of a long haul one.
Right,
We're not going to be able to say, oh, we directly through this program did it. But as we've talked about, the mayor's talked about his grant program,
Right.
in terms of being able to attract people with a college degree to buy a house here. So if we're going to do, if things move forward and that gets started, next year, I think we should start to look at. I mean, we're not going to be responsible for it all, but is that a part of, a attracting those with a degree here? And are we playing a role in helping move that needle?
And I like it. I mean, I like it.
Sure.
I think it should be on there, but I like it, just,
Yeah.
what can we do? Well,
Right.
attract the right businesses that are gonna, have the needs for the various employees and, educational attainment for them, and, no, I like that. I like that. Any other comments, questions for Kevin?
Just one more comment, something that I've mentioned before, and I think it falls under the enhanced public services, particularly with information. A question that I've had for you all in the past is just if there's a way to get a handle on the resources that we have at our disposal, federal, state, and otherwise, what we can use for economic development efforts, whether they be through, the Community Development Block Grant Program or other funds, and how we could best put those to use for those purposes. So I was wondering if it would be appropriate to have a motion on that, or if that would, be something that you'd be comfortable just kind of doing.
So you're
informally.
looking at grant programs in particular, or just any types of?
Yeah, I mean, any resources that we receive as a city that
Sure.
could be expended for economic development purposes. Because just sort of taking a survey of different municipalities around the state, it seems that some of them are using CDBG monies for economic development efforts. And I'm just wondering if there's an opportunity for us to use some of those funds, for similar purposes. Or
Sure.
if that's not the case.
Yeah, no, and I guess we've started to do a little bit. I mean, Julie's been working on a grant database of just things that are out there.
Yeah.
But I think also what you're saying is just kind of looking internally are we making sure that the money that we're getting, we're using, and
Yeah.
also are there some pots of money that maybe we're not getting that we should be getting?
Right.
Okay.
And I mean, I'm obviously very new to this, but what my understanding is that we do use some community development block grants for like repaving alleyways.
Mhm.
Is that the highest and best use for
Sure.
those funds? Just as an example, I don't
Yeah.
know if it is or not, but just kind of taking an inventory of what we're receiving and making sure that we're doing the best we can with it.
Sure.
I think I could see where you're coming from there. I think you're just looking for a list that Julie would come to us and say, all right, as an economic development authority, we have access to brownfield funds, we have access to CDGB funds, we have access to this, and this. And these are all the things that we could partner with if we had certain projects. Right.
Sure.
And just to look at that and say, oh, all right, you're right. And then instead of doing it this way, can we use it for this or for that?
Right.
Historical grant fund money or things like that.
Sure.
And just the only other thing I had was when Gary, you brought that up about educational team, and just my comment was, it just struck me as one of the things that the Packer organization was looking at was brain drain.
Mhm.
And we've been talking about that for a
Yeah,
long
yeah.
time.
Mhm.
In their development to stymie brain drain. And that's one of the things that they came,
Mhm.
it'd be kind of interesting to see if some, in the future, that, the powers to be, whether it's Mark Murphy or somebody comes and we
Measure
do a little,
that.
just talk
Yeah.
about that,
Or-
have a little,
yeah.
put them on the agenda and say, all right, this is where we're going. How can we, you're going 100 miles an hour in your direction, which is great, but is there anything that we can do to make sure that we're collaborating together?
Mhm.
Because that just kind of opened my ears up, and I thought, oh, that was an interesting part of their equation, is that one of their focuses was retaining, getting them back from Minnesota.
And Eric, getting back to your comment regarding CDBG, and Kevin can tell us too, I know there's certain things that those funds can be used for and certain things where they can't be used for, so maybe in the future, and you said you're coming up with a grant database or something, and maybe this grant can be used for this grant can be used for that. Because, I like what you're saying, but I know some of it is,
Right.
it's got to be public works or whatever, but.
Well, I think, back to and that's where maybe this notion of services came out, and that we want to be able to kind of package like partnering with the city, you can do these things.
Right.
And/or we can do these things for you. And it was just trying to kind of get it all in one spot, that notion of, okay, yeah, we'll leverage this or we'll leverage that to get it done. And that notion of, this is why you would want to work with the city on
Right.
something. So I think, yeah, going through and just, kind of analyzing, here's what we're doing right now and maybe where it's spent. And, as we talk about budgets moving forward, is that the best use where we want to do some of these things?
That's kind of just an extension of this, really.
Yeah, and
Really,
but I think that helps
Yeah.
a focus in
Yeah.
terms of a first thing that we need to do
Yeah.
is maybe just identify.
Where's the
like,
money?
Where's the
what
money?
we're doing
Yeah.
right now.
So,
Okay.
I'd make a motion to approve staff recommendation and place on file.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dwayne. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, discussion items. Item 6, deliberating redevelopment site, parcel 7-544, 7-545-1, 7-520-A, 7-520, 7-521, and 7-567.
For these, if you would like to go in the closed session to discuss, if you want to take items 6 and 7 together, since they're both closed session, or you want to go into closed session, come back out, and do back and forth, I guess.
Why don't, I would go in closed
that?
session for both, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, get it done.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss redevelopment projects on several sites.
All right, and if you want to have someone read
Oh,
language.
Sure, the authority may convene in closed session pursuant to sections 19.85, parent 1, parent E, Wisconsin statutes for purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing public funds, or conducting other specified public business as necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The authority may thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to section 19.85, parent 2, Wisconsin statutes to report the results of the closed session and consider the balance of the agenda. Is there a motion? Motion by Borley. Second. Second by Dwayne. All in favor, say aye.
All right, we have to do a roll call vote for this.
Okay, roll call. Dwayne? Here. Aye. Aye. Borley?
Aye.
Sikich? Aye. Genrich?
Aye.
Hilgenberg?
All right.
Okay. We are in closed session. I'll entertain a motion to return to open session.
So moved.
Moved by Genrich. Is there a second?
Sure.
Second by Hilgenberg. All in favor, say aye. Roll call, I guess. Dwayne?
Aye.
Aye. Sikich? Aye. Genrich?
Aye.
Hilgenberg? Carried.